I thought the worst part was over when I left the hospital. I thought the truth saved in my phone would finally stop all the pain. I thought that once everyone knew I was not a donor match for Lillian, they would stop blaming me. But I was wrong. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Dr. Nathan. Need to clarify something in your file. Can you come back today? The words were short, but they made me nervous. My stomach felt funny, like a knot was tied inside it. I quickly typed back. On my way. The ride back to the hospital felt longer than before. I stared out the car window the whole time. Cars moved past. People walked on sidewalks. The world looked normal. But my world did not feel normal at all. When I arrived, I walked through the hospital doors again. The smell of medicine filled the air. Nurses hurried through the hallways. Machines beeped in distant rooms. Everything looked the same, but something felt different. I followed the signs until I reached Dr. Nathan's office. He was waiting for me. The doctor sat behind a large wooden desk. A folder lay open in front of him. He looked serious. Please sit down, Arya, he said. I sat in the chair across from him. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he folded his hands together. Before we continue, he said softly, I need to ask you something. I nodded. When was your last genetic screening? I frowned. The donor test in October, I answered. You already have those results. He slowly nodded. Yes. That's exactly the problem. I blinked. What problem? The doctor turned his computer screen toward me. There are records here that do not match. I looked at the screen. Numbers and medical words covered the page. I didn't understand any of it. What does that mean? I asked. Dr. Nathan took a deep breath. It means one set of records says one thing, and another set says something completely different. My heart started beating faster. I could hear it in my ears. The doctor opened the folder and pulled out SE Lillianal papers. I checked everything twice, he said. Then I checked again. I swallowed hard. Checked what? He looked straight at me. The genetic relationship between you and Lillian. The room suddenly felt very quiet. I stared at him. What about it? He paused. Then he said something that changed everything. The record suggests that you and Lillian may not be biological sisters. For a second, I thought I heard him wrong. I just stared. My mouth opened, but no words came out. What? His voice stayed calm. I know this is shocking. That can't be right, I whispered. I understand why you feel that way. No, I said, shaking my head. There must be a mistake. The doctor nodded slowly. There could be. That's why I want another test done. I leaned back in my chair. My thoughts were spinning. Lillian wasn't my sister? How was that possible? I had known her my entire life. We lived in the same house. We grew up together. Everyone always called us sisters. My parents never said anything different. So how could this be true? The doctor watched me carefully. Take your time, he said. But I didn't know what to think. Suddenly memories started filling my mind. I remembered birthdays where Lillian got the biggest gifts. I remembered holidays where everyone focused on her. I remembered being told to share my toys, my room, my time, and my dreams. She's your sister. I had heard those words thousands of times. Family comes first. Help your sister. Think about Lillian. Everything was always about Lillian. Always. Even when I was sad. Even when I was sick. Even when I needed help. Lillian always came first. Now I wonder why. If she wasn't really my sister, then why had everyone acted that way? Why had my parents expected me to give up everything for her? Why had they spent years making me feel guilty? And then another memory appeared. Dad standing in the hallway. His cold face. His cold voice. You're just a selfish mistake. The words hit me all over again. A mistake. Not my daughter. Not family. A mistake. I felt tears pushing against my eyes. But I blinked them away. I was tired of crying. Tired of being hurt. Tired of always being the one blamed for everything. Dr. Nathan handed me a glass of water. I took it. Thank you, I said quietly. He nodded. Then he opened another file. There is something else. I looked up. What? He pointed to a date on one of the papers. This genetic record was created years ago. I frowned. Years ago? Yes. Who ordered it? The doctor hesitated. I don't know. That answer made me even more nervous. Someone had tested my DNA years ago. Someone knew something. Maybe someone had known the truth all along. Maybe the answers were sitting in a file somewhere while I spent my whole life wondering why I never felt like I belonged. The thought made my chest hurt. The doctor slid a form across the desk. This is a request for a complete genetic screening. I looked at the paper. If I do this, will it tell us the truth? It should answer many questions. Many questions. That sounded nice. Because my whole life felt like one giant question. Why was I treated differently? Why did my parents never defend me? Why was I always expected to sacrifice something? Why did I always feel like a guest inside my own family? I picked up the pen. My hand shook a little. Then I signed my name. Arya Hale. The letters looked simple. But they felt important. For the first time, I wasn't signing as someone's helper. Someone's backup plan. Someone's insurance policy. I was signing as myself. Just Arya. The doctor collected the papers. The results may take Lilianal days. I nodded. I could wait. After 26 years of confusion, a few more days would not matter. Just then my phone vibrated. I looked down. A new message. It was from my mother. Only 4 words. Come see your sister. I stared at the screen. No hello. No please. No asking how I was doing. Nothing. Just another order. Like always. For years I would have jumped up immediately. I would have rushed down the hallway. I would have apologized for things that were not my fault. I would have tried to make everyone happy. But something inside me had changed. I looked at the message. Then I locked my phone. I put it back in my pocket. I did not answer. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. The feeling was strange. A little scary. But also powerful. Like finally taking a deep breath after holding it for years. I stood up. Thank you for telling me the truth, I said. Dr. Nathan gave a small nod. You deserve answers. Those words stayed with me. You deserve answers. Nobody in my family had ever said something like that. Most of the time they told me what I owed. What I should do. What I should sacrifice. But nobody ever talked about what I deserved. As I walked out of the office, the hallway seemed different. Not because it had changed. Because I had changed. The hospital lights were still bright. The nurses still walked past. The machines still beeped. Everything looked the same. But now I know something important. The story I had been told my whole life might not be true. And if that story was a lie, then maybe other things were lies too. Maybe I wasn't selfish. Maybe I wasn't ungrateful. Maybe I wasn't the problem. Maybe I never had been. I stepped outside into the afternoon sunlight. The warm air touched my face. For the first time all day, I looked up at the sky. The future was still scary. The answers might hurt. The truth might be painful. But I wanted it anyway. Because living with a hard truth is better than living inside a beautiful lie. As I walked toward the parking lot, my phone stayed silent in my pocket. No new messages. No new orders. Just quiet. And in that quiet, I felt something I had not felt in a very long time. Hope. Because somewhere ahead of me, the truth was waiting. And no matter how hard anyone tried to hide it, the truth was finally coming. Our system has 2 sets of information, the doctor said quietly. One set is yours and one set is Lillian's. They do not match. As soon as he said that, I felt a cold shiver run down my back. I looked at him confused. What do you mean they do not match? I asked. For a moment, he did not answer. Instead, he slowly turned his computer screen toward me. On the screen were 2 charts sitting side by side. The charts should have looked very similar. But they did not. Not even a little. I stared at them, trying to understand what I was seeing. Then the doctor finally spoke. Arya, you and Lillian are not biologically related. The words hit me like a strong wind. I could not move. I could not speak. I just stared at him. I waited for him to smile. I waited for him to tell me it was a mistake. I waited for him to say he was joking. But none of those things happened. The room became very quiet. I could hear the soft hum of the machines around us. My throat felt tight. Finally, I whispered. Does that mean I was adopted? The doctor took a deep breath. That is what the information shows, he said. We checked everything twice to make sure. My heart felt heavy. I thought I would feel relief. I thought I would feel anger. But what I felt was something else. A terrible understanding. Suddenly, so many memories started making sense. Every cold look. Every mean comment. Every time someone said, we did not have to take you in. Every time I felt unwanted. Every time I felt like I had to earn love instead of receiving it. The truth was standing right in front of me. I was not their biological daughter. And maybe they had always known. Maybe that was why I never felt like I truly belonged. For a long time, I sat there without speaking. The room felt smaller and smaller. I could barely breathe. Finally, I stood up. I need copies of everything, I said. The doctor nodded. You will get them, he replied kindly. Then he looked at me seriously. Arya, you also have the right to speak with our legal department. Some very important information was hidden from you. What happened was wrong. I nodded slowly. Then I picked up the folder full of papers. Just then my phone started ringing. I looked down. It was Mom. Her name flashed across the screen. For a moment I stared at it. Then I put the phone away. I did not answer. I was not ready. Outside the office, the hospital seemed louder than before. Doctors walked through the halls. Nurses pushed carts. People talked and laughed. But everything felt strange. It felt like the whole world was moving normally while mine had completely changed. I stopped beside a large window. Outside, cars filled the parking lot. People walked across the sidewalks. The sun was shining brightly. Everything looked normal. But nothing felt normal. I rested my forehead against the cool glass. Then I whispered softly. It was never about saving Lillian. The thought hurt. But deep inside I knew it was true. This was not about helping her. This was about control. This was about making me feel guilty. This was about keeping me tied to a family that never truly treated me like family. And now they had tried to hide the truth. But the truth has a funny way of coming back. You can hide it for a while, but eventually it finds the light. I straightened my back. I lifted my head. For years, people thought I would stay quiet. They thought I would accept everything without asking questions. They were wrong. This time I was going to speak. I walked through the hospital until I reached the media room. Earlier that day, Evelyn had stood there and told everyone her version of the story. The chairs were still in place. The lights were still on. The cameras were still there. People were still talking. When I walked toward the stage, a security guard looked uncertain. But I still had my hospital badge. "I'm here to speak," I said calmly. "It won't take long." Nobody stopped me. I walked to the podium. Then I placed the folder on top of it. The room slowly grew quiet. People turned toward me. Phones were lifted. Cameras pointed in my direction. I opened the folder. Then I began. "My name is Aria Hale." The room stayed silent. "You did not hear my name today. But it matters." I held up the first document. "This is an official test result." Everyone looked carefully. "It says I am not a donor match for Lillian Hale." Whispers began spreading through the room. Then I held up another paper. This document was signed using my name without my permission. The whispers became louder. I lifted another page. "And these records show that my mother received this information months ago and kept it hidden." People gasped. Some reporters immediately started writing notes. Camera flashes filled the room. Then I told them the biggest truth of all. I was adopted. The room became completely silent. "No one ever told me," I continued. "They brought me here believing I could save someone who spent years treating me badly." I took a breath. When that turned out to be impossible, they tried to cover up the truth. The crowd reacted immediately. People whispered to each other. Reporters asked questions. Camera flashes filled the room again. Then suddenly Evelyn rushed forward. Her face was red. She looked angry. "Lies," she shouted. "She's making everything up." I turned toward her. I stayed calm. "No," I said. "This is proof." I raised the official document. "The records are right here." Then I looked directly at her. "The truth is written on these pages." More cameras flashed. Someone in the crowd called out, "Aria, do you want revenge?" I shook my head. "No." Another voice shouted, "Do you want justice?" Again I shook my head. "I want the truth." The room became quiet. "I just don't want any more silence." After saying that, I stepped away from the podium. A few seconds later, there was a loud noise. Evelyn had fallen to the floor. People rushed toward her. Richard shouted for help. Reporters ran in different directions. Questions filled the room. Everything became chaos. But I kept walking. For the first time in years, I felt strong. Nobody stopped me. Nobody could. When I stepped outside into the sunlight, I felt different. The air felt lighter. My hands were steady. My heart was calm. I pulled out my phone and called Chloe. When she answered, I spoke clearly. "Send everything." She understood immediately. "Everything?" she asked. "Everything," I repeated. "Every document. Every photo. Every message. Every record." Chloe let out a surprised breath. "You just changed everything, Sid." "Good," I replied. "Let people see the truth." For the first time in my life, I was not hiding. The truth belonged to me now, and I was no longer afraid of it. 7 days passed. The story spread everywhere. Newspapers wrote about it. Television stations talked about it. People shared it online. My name appeared in headlines. The hospital started an investigation. Lawyers began asking questions. People wanted answers. But I stayed away from the internet comments. I did not need strangers telling me what to think. This was not about becoming famous. This was not about getting attention. This was about finally being honest. And finally standing up for myself. During those 7 days, many things changed. Evelyn stayed under medical care. Richard barely spoke in public. His reputation was badly damaged. Lillian was released from the hospital. She stopped posting online. Her social media pages became quiet. No pictures. No messages. No speeches. Just silence. One morning, I sat on my balcony. I held a warm cup of coffee. The city moved below me. Cars drove along the streets. Birds flew overhead. People walked to work. The world kept moving. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt free. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was the hospital's legal office. I answered. The person on the line sounded calm. "We completed another review of the records," they said. I listened carefully. Then they told me something shocking. "Your liver was never a match for Lillian." I blinked. "What?" "It was never possible," they explained. "Not a partial match. Not a close match. Not any kind of match." For a moment, I did not know what to say. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was unbelievable. All this pain. All these lies. All this pressure. And the thing they wanted from me could never have happened. The truth became even clearer. This had never been about saving Lillian. It had been about controlling me. A few hours later, another message appeared on my phone. It was from Lillian. The message was short. Can we meet? Just us. I thought about it. Then I agreed. Not because I wanted to forgive her. Not because I wanted everything to be okay. I wanted answers. The next day, I met her outside the hospital. She was sitting on a bench. She wore a hoodie and hospital socks. For a while, she stared at the ground. Then she finally looked at me. Her voice was quiet. They only kept you around in case I needed something someday. Her words hurt, but they did not surprise me. Deep down, I think I had always known. She looked away. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I nodded. Good, I said softly. Because I'm not ready to give it. There was no shouting. No arguing. No dramatic ending. Just two people finally telling the truth. When the conversation ended, we went our separate ways. The next day, I filed papers to legally change my name. For the first time, the choice belonged to me. Not to my family. Not to anyone else. To me. That night, I found an envelope in my stack of mail. There was no return address. Curious, I opened it. Inside was a handwritten note. It said, Hi Arya. I saw your story. I am adopted too. I never knew I was allowed to say no. Thank you for showing me that I have a choice. I am 17 years old. Because of you, I learned that my voice matters. There was no name at the bottom. No signature. Just those words. I read the note twice. Then I smiled. For the first time, I understood something important.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर भरता है अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है दिल का हर कहाँ ढूंढूं मेरा वो साजो सामा तो मेरी हर एक तमन्ना तू मेरी रूह का मका तू लकीरों में नहीं लिखा जो तुमने ख्वाब देखा था कहानी में फकत एक गम ही लिखा था सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा मगर खामोश है दुनिया कहाँ मेरा जहाँ होगा बस एक बार मुड़ के देख ले मेरी बेबसी की सूरत मुझे है आज भी तेरी वफा की सख्त जरूरत साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर